ninth edition of Evolve, a knowledge session for MSMEs by Axis Bank. In the world of finance, best banking is like a poetry, precise, impactful, and timeless. Similarly, we have our Axis values. The Axis values are ownership, transparency, teamwork, ethics, and customer centricity. These are imbibed deep in our heart to build an evolving culture stronger day by day. To talk about Evolve a bit. Evolve was conceptualized in 2014. It mainly focuses on burgeoning micro, small, and medium enterprises and has successfully reached out to more than 9,000 customers across 50 plus cities in just last few years. As a knowledge partner, we equip MSMEs with new age technologies, case studies, operational knowledge, regulatory, as well as government affairs, so that it can impact their business positively. Today's session on future proofing of MSMEs for the new age is centered around building a robust MSME ecosystem and fostering financially resilient and competitive MSMEs. Before we proceed, we would like to give you a quick introduction as to what Axis Bank's commercial banking team does and how it continues to innovate to bring the best-in-class banking services. So sit back for a power-packed evening. We now request Mr. Vijay Shetty, EVP and Head, Commercial Banking Group, Axis Bank, to share his views on how we aim to future-proof MSMEs for new age business through our various banking propositions. Mr. Shetty is a seasoned banking professional with more than 27 years of experience in lending space, focusing on customer acquisition, risk management, digital transformation, and portfolio management. He's been with the bank since April 16, and as head commercial banking group, his focus is on partnering closely with MSMEs in their growth journey by providing curated solutions. Please welcome on stage Mr. Vijay Shetty with a huge round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I think thank you all for coming here and gracing this occasion. As you are aware, we started in 2014. The reason for Evolve is like MSME in 2014. When you say that there are a lot of change in the country, MSME changes are happening around. Maybe in the digitization, it may be in terms of the growth, in terms of Make in India and startups are coming up. That's one of the reasons what we thought. Evolve is becoming a knowledge series for all of us. It will help for the bank as well as the MSME coming here, sharing their experience. Because today's world, learning is very, very important. If you don't learn, if you don't change yourself, what you do today, I'm sure that the things will not be same for all of us. For any MSME or a bank, what we understand, when you adopt the change, when you learn from over the best practice in the industry, it will help all of us. We are doing it across all India. This is the third one in this financial year. And what we learned from last couple of events, the feedback is really wonderful for all of us. We get a lot of feedback from the customer. I'm sure today's event, we will interact more, help us to develop our journey better. As you're aware, like in the Indian MSME is the cornerstone for Indian economy. Almost 30% of GDP comes from Indian MSME sector. If you see the number of employment is almost 237 millions. And if I look at the micro and small and medium, 95% of companies are micro. This is only a registered. When I see the informal, it's almost 330 million. It's not completely recorded, but it's an approximate estimate. When you see the credit growth, when I see this chart, the private banks are growing at 14% in the industry YOY, in the CAGR, and almost 26 lakh crore of MSME outstanding is there in the banking sector. Most of the MSMEs in the informal and micro, still they take it from the family or informal sectors. I think that's a big credit gap is there. I'm sure the banking sector and NBFCs are helping to cover that growth. Just to give a glance about Axis Bank, like we are the third largest private bank in India, and we have almost 1 lakh plus employees, and we have 5,706 branches. It's a big network, and we are there everywhere in Indian cities and towns. And when you see the subsidiaries, we have Axis Securities, Actual Mutual Fund. I think all the subsidiaries, when I look at it, it's a large franchisee. It will help the entire MSME in terms of growth story. Just to give an insight, like what we are doing in Axis Bank MSME stories, like we are grown almost 28% CAGR. When I say that industry is grown at 14.5, we are grown much faster than industry, and that's one of the reasons we could have a balance sheet in the MSME is around 2.3 lakh crores. It's quite large, and if you see that, micro is growing faster than other segment, medium and small. The reason is most of digitization is coming into effect, and the customer behavior is changing. People are starting actual transaction in the balance sheet. That is helping the bank to grow the business. So as a bank, what we feel that this is a growth engine for the India, and we want to partner with all the customer along with our journey. And we are putting a lot of efforts, a lot of product features within the bank to accommodate each type of customer. When I see that, if you see the data democratization, when I see Aadhaar or Udyam, and API integration with the government and the RBI. If you give one simple example, we are digitally disbursing unsecured loan within 3 minutes. The volume is almost 750 crore per month. And we tied up with RBI Innovative Hub, and we are the journey with them we started, and we could able to scale up our business, and we are one of the largest digitally enabled disbursement in unsecured business loan. Almost we are number one in the industry. And second one, if you see the segment, when I'm talking about unsecured loan, where they're taking about maybe a 1 lakh to 50 lakhs, this because of informal segment, they don't have a clear balance sheet. You must be having your supplier, maybe vendor. There is a credit deficit is there. How do I make sure that, how do I underwrite them? Today, when I see that their digital journeys, prints are there in the banking, we can able to underwrite based on GST, based on banking. Over the counter, we can sanction those cases. And the credit, also there is a, government is also come up with the facilities like credit guarantee scheme, which is called CGTMSE. It's another enabler for the most of the companies. I'll give you one success story, maybe a recent one. The latest Shark Tank, you must have seen the one episode. There is a customer came and pitching for agri manufacturing product where we have funded him 70 lakhs, CGTMSE. And after that, he's grown with us, we have funded 2 crore. And he came and pitched that. He was a salaried guy, started the business 5 years back. And today, the two sharks are invested in that company for a valuation of 40 crores. So that's where the government can help, bank can support in terms of the MSME to grow up the business. So as a bank, how do, it can't be a one-fit policy for all the MSMEs. You need to, I'm sure we get a lot of feedback when we meet the customer. So what we do as a bank, we can lend today even a 50,000 rupee to 100 crore. That kind of a product suite is there. If you are an Axis Bank customer, I'm sure we have all the product in the industry where we can support you. Whether it is an asset product or a liability, or somebody is going for an IPO or a private management, private management for any individual or a promoter, we can take care. Maybe one of the success story, Last month, one of our customer gone for IPO. It is subscribed almost 187 times, and and the pricing, I think, is almost double the IPO pricing quoted. So that's where we are a banker for them for almost 15 years. That's the success story. When we feel that proud, when we grow with the MSMEs, that helps all of us. Important is, I think today's world, instant becomes like, whether it is a e-commerce, quick commerce, or anything, or when we want to book a taxi, it has to be a fast track. Like, we can't wait more than half an hour. Today's world, earlier, if I want to book a taxi, I can wait for 30 minutes. Today, 2 minutes, I'll cancel that, I'll try for one more Ola, right? I think the whole thing is changing, both in banking as well as MSMEs. For your customer, you need to adopt technology. As a bank, we need to make sure that our technology and the process has to be streamlined. If you look at this process, today, in the smallest town, somebody want to apply a loan, I can underwrite sitting at Bombay. We don't need a credit guy going and meeting. We can do a digital PD. We can do a digital document signature. For that straight-through process, we could able to do that. And in one of up to 5 crore in the small business banking, even the renewals we started in a few months back. With a 3 click of a button, we can renew your facilities. I'm sure we'll come back to all the type of customer that will release your large chunk of documentation. I think you must have heard there is a stall we have put up Neo for business. It's a technology. After lending, how do you service the customer, whether you don't have to come to the branch for your transaction. This will help, the Neo for business will help all of us, in terms of your transaction, servicing your customer, your partner. Like if you want to have a tally in yours as a financial accounting process, you can integrate that and you can send the invoice to your customer. And digitally you can onboard payment processing can be done. So it's a lot of features are available. I urge you to go and see those journeys that will help all of us. So this is a new product we launched recently, Merchant Cash Advance, where the journeys are like QR code, there's a current account, and the loan goes in a seamless STP model. And it's a ticket size is smaller. Currently we are testing that. Within 30 minutes, we could able to do end-to-end digitized process for acquiring any customer. Before I sign off, we have a product which is the Burgundy and Burgundy Private. All the promoters in this room I request you to urge you to use that facility. I'm sure most of them you are using that facility. If somebody is not there, please experience the facility, what we can give it on the wealth management or a business or lending solution or a personal banking. And these are the expertise. They will give advise you in your managing the wealth. I'm sure today's evening will be more interactive, and I'm sure there are guest speakers are there. We will learn from them and adopt how they have grown their business. I'm sure with us today, our ED, Munish Shada, is here. We'll take his views on the industry as well as the banking. That will help all of us. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that thoughtful presentation. We move ahead. I would now like to invite Mr. Munish Shada, Executive Director, Axis Bank, to share his views and vision for the MSME segment. More than 25 years of experience in the banking and financial services sector, Mr. Shada brings in rich leadership experience in scaling businesses, leveraging digital and technology to drive business outcomes, building people capabilities, and enhancing customer experience. In his current role, he has been instrumental in driving growth in retail assets as well as establishing bank's product portfolio spanning MFI, retail, MSME, wholesale, retail deposits, and financial inclusion initiatives across rural and semi-urban markets. He also serves as chairman of A-Trades Limited, and he's also on the board of Axis Foundation. With a loud round of applause, we invite you, Mr. Sharda, for your comments. Sir, please.
Good evening, Ji. Good evening to all the esteemed customers of the bank. And thank you very much for being here today. I know it's difficult, especially in the evening in Calcutta, to come to such a venue. So I'd like to start by thanking all the customers of the bank for being with us, being our customers, and giving us an opportunity to partner with you in your growth of the business. Calcutta is one of the first regions or zones in the country where Axis Bank established its business. Some of our biggest branches, the first few branches of the bank are established in Calcutta and in West Bengal and in Northeast. And we have a sizable business presence in the city of Calcutta and in various other geographies across the eastern India. We've seen over the years that Axis Bank has been present in East. We've seen our customers grow. I have been meeting several clients in Eastern India and across both agri, MSME or normal MSME, technology, digital, various other industries in Eastern India. And I've seen several MSMEs grow into very big players over these years that I've been seeing this. And I have been coming to Calcutta now for close to 30 years. And I've seen this city develop, and thanks to all the enterprise that's available in this room. When we look at Axis Bank, for us at Axis Bank, MSME business is at the center of our core strategy for the bank. We are an MSME bank. We actually work very closely with MSME across customer segments, starting with very micro entrepreneurs business to the mid corporate group that Prashant Srinivas runs here. And we've been growing actually at quite a frenetic pace in this sector over the last few years. We've indeed almost tripled our balance sheet in the last 4-5 years for this business, for this set of businesses, which tells you about a focus on developing this segment, or focus on customers in this area, and a focus on finding solutions for our customers in this area. We have invested heavily in this business in the last few years, and we continue to do so as we go along. And we have several solutions which team has, put up stalls outside, and our RMs and relationship managers talk to you about, which should enable you to do more within your business. We have only one purpose as an institution, which is to ensure that we ensure our customers' success in whatever you're trying to do by providing you right and useful and suitable financial services solutions across the length and breadth of the ecosystem, which includes from a small ticket unsecured loan which you may need for short-term needs, to providing you full-blown services on listing your companies and solutions for your employees or trade or cash or whatever else you may have need for to give you those solutions. Just briefly about Axis Bank, as you all know, we are third largest bank in the country. We have a balance sheet size of about 15 lakh crores. We have about 2.5 lakh crores in the MSME space of balance sheet, large customer base spread across the country. We straddle pretty much every single segment within the group. We have one of the largest capital markets company or a investment bank called Axis Capital, which is top of the charts, which tops the league charts in investment banking, which many of you who may want to list your companies or raise source funds through equity markets, those services will be available for you. We have a very large AMC, 5th or 6th or 7th largest AMC in the country, We recently changed the name of Max Life Insurance to Axis Max Life Insurance, which is now a group company of Axis Bank Group. We have a large securities company, a very large trustee company, and several businesses in order to ensure that all of our customers and all of your financial services needs are fulfilled by our suite of products and solutions. We are also investing heavily in technology, and on the consumer side, some of our solutions and apps are rated amongst the best in the industry, not only in the country but also across the world. If you go by the ratings of those solutions on the platforms, we continue to invest deeply and heavily into such solutions for our institutional clients as well, which all of you are, in Neo for business, Neo for corporate, and some of the other solutions, trade finance solutions, and supply chain finance solutions, etc., which are useful for you, and which many of you may be already using, but many of you not using should make an attempt to use those solutions in order to make your business operations even more seamless. For Calcutta, I know there are several businesses here: leather, IT services, gems and jewelry, printing, publishing, engineering goods. We are pretty much doing everything, and we'll be very happy to continue to partner with your growth. I just want to share a few thoughts on, as I travel across the country and I see MSMEs grow the business. I just want to tell you, why do we do this event, Evolve? Evolve is, we started doing Evolve about 4 years back. We thought it's important for us to bring all our customers on one single platform and do 2 or 3 things when we engage with you in these meetings. The first thing is to meet you, hear from you. What do you think we can do better? What do you think we can do more? Where do you think the bank can provide more services, etc., and take feedback from you about the services, and so that we can continue to invest more and improve more our processes and our solutions, etc. That's one. Second is to engage, also know the industry trends that are happening. Third is to invite some people and and get some experts to talk, people to engage with each other, and so that there are learnings and one can see from success of other people, some processes, some business practices, some solutions that you may not have thought of, and it kind of gives you some ideas to go back and implement in your day-to-day business to grow the business even more. So that's the idea of Evolve. We do 2 such events. One is Evolve for MSME, and we do a similar event in the country, in some markets across the country, which we do focus on the startup community, which we call Startup Social. We do that event only with startups with a similar kind of intent to engage the startup community in the country and to kind of bring them on a common platform. I do hope you find this useful. When I look at the journey of some of our MSME clients, and when I meet some of the clients in various markets, it's indeed very inspiring to see the entrepreneurship and the energy and the drive that people have to grow their business. Indeed, the opportunity in the country is massive in the next few years. MSME is the backbone of the economy. The government is doing a lot, and giving a lot of SOPs and incentives and focusing on MSME growth. Even for us, it's a growth engine. We see that large part of our flows, as they come in, it actually incrementally are coming from the MSME sector. But when I travel, there's a few things that I pick up during my travel in various parts of the country, which I'll just share with you. Maybe you'll find it useful, or you're already doing it or not. But some of the things that as you grow your businesses, and I see entrepreneurs who've started small and become very big, there are few things that I kind of notice, and they stand out. And I just want to share a few with you. I've seen businesses scale up to a massive number. When I travel to deep markets, Bharat banking markets, rural and semi-urban markets, it's fascinating to see some businesses which are like really gaining scale. I've seen in small cities, people building businesses with turnovers of 8,000, 10,000 crores. I was in Jodhpur last week, And I met a couple of clients in Jodhpur, a small city, but clients running turnover of 1,500, 2,000 crores, 3,000 crores, and having big ambitions for building businesses at scale. Because what's small today won't remain small tomorrow. It will actually keep, if you have the right practices, it will continue to grow and keep growing in scale. What stands out with some of these entrepreneurs is that, the first is they have the right ambition. They're not thinking small, they're building businesses and processes which can sustain, more flows, which can sustain more, volumes, which don't crumble under the weight of doing more, and they're financially very well disciplined businesses which they build, and they keep investing back in the business, and they keep growing at a pace, so that over a period of time it keeps becoming bigger and bigger. Second thing I see is that they specialize a lot. They do not go into businesses that you don't know much about, but you do downstream and upstream integrations, but you do not go sideways to diversify too much, which can take focus away from your core, to build up, and that can take capital out, and that can keep you away from your core, and at some point in time take money out, and you kind of get stuck in your core business, and that doesn't attain scale. So they don't spread too much horizontally, but they keep going deep into their business. The third thing that I notice is that in the smaller market, a lot of people who are actually doing a lot on technology. And technology today is actually a commodity, easily available. I'll give you an example. We're trying to work with somebody in a large oil manufacturer in a small city in Maharashtra, which is the nearest airport is 5 hours away. And and I went to meet that customer in that market, and they run a business with turnover of about 6,000-7,000 crores in oil. They manufacture edible oil, and no longer small and medium enterprise, it's now a big business. But even in those markets, they are using technology for small things within their business to take the inefficiency and the friction out, and use money wisely, and turn the money around faster, and which gives you more efficiency. Right? And those solutions are available today. Some of you may already be using it, but some of you can actually, go and figure out those solutions, invest, and and keep the manual effort out, and invest in technology, and make less mistakes. And and in this business, we are actually working with the manufacturer. So they buy oil seeds from farmers, right? And we stepping in as a financier. They have set up a fintech company on the side, a small fintech solution, in which they are procuring the seeds from the farmer. It goes to the digital platform. We've plugged in a pipe into that solution. The farmer, as he gives the seed to the manufacturer, we actually at that point in time we provide a finance to the farmer. And then as the year goes by, every day the oil manufacturer is publishing a price on the application. The farmer has got access to the application. They are printing a price saying, "Aaj itna, this is the rate today." Anybody who needs money that day, any farmer, they will go and say, "Okay, I want to sell." He sells, his outstanding gets knocked off, money comes in, loan gets paid off, and we get our interest, and they get the remaining money. And the entire thing is digital. Right? And and there's no intervention. Everybody is getting money in time. Farmer is getting money in time. We are getting loans, and these guys are and farmer also is getting benefit of actually getting the price at the right time of the year. Because the farmer sells upfront, they get a low price. But if they sell during the year, they get solutions which are they get price which is at the right price of the market, so they don't lose out on the price. Similarly, we have a platform within our group, within Axis Bank, we call it A-Trades. A-Trades is a trade receivable discounting company, in which we have a platform in which MSME who are supplying to large principals, they can actually come on the platform, and many of you may already be using it, I don't know, but if you are a vendor to a large manufacturer, you go to the platform, and for your small term needs, you can actually access a discount and invoice that you raised on the anchor manufacturer in a few seconds, You go there are 60 financiers available there. You can actually discount an invoice and take money quickly for a 90-day credit, as you are, when you're manufacturing. So, and we do about 10,000 crores of monthly lending on that platform on e-trades. So solutions like these, when you build, and using technology like this can make your business more efficient, can ensure that that you become more profitable in your pursuit of growth and scale. Lastly, one thing which also stands out with many of these customers who grow their businesses and these successful entrepreneurs who've grown their businesses in scale, is that they do not shortchange their customers. Okay, they do not think short term when they're dealing with the client. You may do it at a slightly lower margin today, but building a satisfied set of clients who do not come back and complain to you, you don't shortchange, you don't have practices which can lead to dissatisfaction, etc., is completely out. The focus on the customer is absolutely amazing for people who build successful businesses. And for us, it resonates with us because we also at the bank are running a multi-year transformation program at Axis Bank, which we have chosen to call Sparsh. Sparsh means touch. And so Sparsh is our attempt to ensure that we become one of the most customer-centric banks in the country. Because we know that if customers like you and many others who are not in the room, if they are happy, the bank will grow. And the bank will, we don't have to go out and keep looking for more clients. We may be making mistakes, but it's important that even if you make a mistake, and even if you don't have a solution, you learn quickly from it and rectify it and move forward. And, and be very honest about it and kind of keep moving forward, right? So very important to, to imbibe these principles in the business. You will meet some people today who will come and talk on the stage, and they will also share their thoughts with you. Maybe there are some learnings for you. Maybe you can, get some ideas from these conversations. It's also an attempt, I am a banker, it's also an attempt that we want to ensure that all of you who have a relationship with us on the commercial banking side, we also want to ensure that we provide you solution not only for commercial banking, but we also bank you entirely for even your personal banking needs. So many of you may or may not have heard of our proposition called Burgundy Private. Burgundy Private is a top-notch wealth management solution for our top clients in the country. It's today, in a short span of 3-4 years' time, Burgundy Private has actually become the top 2-3 biggest wealth businesses in the country. People love it. Anybody who's a client love it. The proposition is very strong. I would request many of you who not yet are personal banking clients to consider Burgundy Private as a solution for your banking needs. On that note, I just want to thank you once again, all of you, for coming here and giving us an opportunity to talk to you, take feedback from you. We'll meet over dinner as well and hear more about your experiences with Axis Bank. Any feedback which helps us improve is most welcome. Even if it's a criticism, we take it very positively, and we will continue to make an attempt to keep improving and keep sharpening our focus on our clients. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights. We all know how critical it is for a business to not only know the direct factors that impact, but also a bit on the markets. Market outlook can really impact their growth in the coming future. Today, we have with us Mr. Brajesh Shalil, EVP and Head Treasury Market Sales, Axis Bank, who will share his views on the current market outlook. He has an extensive experience of well over 2.5 decades in the banking sector. He started his career with ANZ Bank before joining Standard Chartered Bank, wherein he worked for about 20 odd years, and he was the Executive Director of Financial Markets. He joined Axis Bank in early 2020 and currently heads the Treasury Market Sales. During his stint of over 20 plus years, he's run FX and derivative sales, headed e-com, built the money market desk, and worked on structuring financial solutions. He has a strong network across banks, corporate institutions, and is an active participant in the treasury and markets world. With a huge round of applause, we request Mr. Chalil to please take the stage.
Thank you, Shweta, for that introduction. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 9th edition of the Axis Evolve series. First of all, as you know, Manish and Vijay said, thank you for joining us this evening. I think also a big thank you for allowing Axis to partner with you in your amazing growth stories. You know, I was talking to some of my colleagues, and some of the stories here are amazing. Our topic for today is Future Proofing MSMEs. Honestly, I don't think there is a thing that Axis Bank or any bank can teach a Calcutta businessman about his or her business. So we don't attempt to do that, but what we will attempt to do, at least today in this session, is try and give you a little perspective on what's happening globally and in India that might hopefully help you make a few better decisions. Quick snapshot, this is how we see the world in a few pictures. They say, you know, picture is worth 1,000 words. So what we see globally, yes, there's a bit of a global debt overhang, starting with the US. They're effectively blowing their treasuries out. They have a spend of about 7 trillion with an earning of barely 5, so that's 2 trillion negative. You have China, which is running through a bit of a crisis. We've come out of one big, plague, COVID, and I think every Jan when you open the papers, you know, there's some new virus or some new bug that's there. AI, you know, we heard Munish speak about the importance of technology. Just, I think last week, something called DeepSeek, which none of us had heard of, spooked the markets. Imagine something that spent only $6 million to build an AI. Of course, they used NVIDIA chips. And, you know, stack that against Microsoft, which has a $80 billion war chest for, that's their annual spend, by the way, for AI. And Meta, which is Facebook, is 68 billion. And then you have DeepSeek with 6 million, which can do at least 70–80% of what AI is. And, you know, again, technology is so important. We've heard our own IT minister, you know, Mr. Vaishnavi, announced that in 6 months, India will come out with its own version. So, a lot of, and then of course there's, you know, the global geotension, which we'll cover a bit in some of our other slides, and climate change. So all of this is how I would say we're going to start 2025. The big one is US. As the title says, you know, it's American supremacy in full display. You know, we've seen Donald Trump, we call it obviously Trump 2.0, he's back in power. I think he's learned obviously from his, first session where what he's done is, I think this time he's come in fairly prepared. All the policies were broadly in place. He's put his battery of people in place. The markets, however, were a bit spooked. Honestly, if you ask me, from November when Trump won to the time he actually took office, I think in market lingo we say, you know, buy the rumor, sell the actual news. And that's what happened. The markets were a bit worried and concerned on what Trump would announce. Thankfully, I think after taking office, while he has made a lot of announcements, if you'll notice, he's not yet called out for a 50–60% tariff against China, which everyone was worried about. There are sharp policies coming into place, and he's pretty much done whatever he said, but you know, I think the next 70–80 days, we'll see how the rest of the policies play out. Some of the good hires, obviously Dodge is the big one with Elon Musk. I think for a country that is trying to save money, it might not be a bad thing. There's talk about how they plan to prune the cost. Washington might actually move office itself. And then you have Scott Bessant, who's the new Treasury Secretary, which is actually a good hire. So some good things that we see in the US. 2 days ago, we had the Fed, which is the FOMC rate decision. America has decided to hold rates steady. It's very important because as bankers, then, Indian interest rates will move up or down depending on what the US does. So US has signaled that they are holding interest rates. Now, that's probably not what Mr. Donald Trump wants. Generally, Trump has been asking for lower rates, but it was a unanimous decision. And, I just want to bring your attention to those two graphs. So if you look at those two graphs, that is where the market expectation of rates were at various cuts. So you can see 12th August 2024, where the whole world was expecting US rates to be and where it is today. So you can see that the world thought there'll be a lot of cuts. We were thinking of 3, 4, 5 cuts. And today, we are talking about possibly 2 cuts, one maybe later this year and one later next year in the US. So the rate cycle has, I would say, plateaued or it's going to hold. Just about half an hour ago, the ECB just announced their rate cut. So Europe is not in a great place. Most of you, if you're in manufacturing, you must be importing some machinery from Europe and you will have enough ties to realize Europe is in a bad spot. They had, a war in their backyard. Oil going high was not really helping them. Inflation was coming down, but because of oil, it was kept a bit buoyant, so they were worried. Growth was slow. They have population issues as well. So they've started cutting rates, but to summarize the slide, our view is that I think Europe has broadly seen the worst of it. With Trump coming in, he will probably not let the war escalate too much. Finish the war, inflation is coming down, that's why they've cut rates, and GDP is broadly bottomed out. So I would be a little bullish on Europe from here. China, I think, is very concerning. It's the second largest economy, and they've definitely slowed down. We call it the Japanification of China. For 20, 30 years, it was like on steroids, growing at 10%. Imagine an economy that size. The US is growing at about 3%. So an economy, the second largest economy, growing for years at 10%. Now they forecast 5%, and as it happens in China, jo forecast hota hai wahi hota hai. So they'll end up exactly at 5%. So don't fully believe the data, but the fact is China is stabilizing its growth. Not too bad, 5%. But China does have some very serious problems. Inflation, if you see that graph, is almost at 0. This is like Japan. So, it won't be easy to get out of this. And if growth slips and inflation is also low, then, it's a long deflationary period that you're going to see in China. There's, we just heard that there was a recent talk between Trump and China. Just wanted to share with you that if you actually hear China's view, they're quite bullish on Trump. Because see, China's end goal is Taiwan. And, at least this is my view that, in probably 3 to 4 years, everyone is trying to go Atmanirbhar, and everyone is trying to, be self-dependent and not dependent on any other country. So I feel by 2027, things that Trump is announcing, like, I'm not saying he will really acquire Greenland, but his aspirations to acquire another country, the fact that Korea had elections recently and in Japan there's a new PM, both of which are not very bullish to protect Taiwan. I feel in the next few years this will probably, allow China to make its advances towards Taiwan. Probably put a 50% probability of that in the next few years. Quick view on global rates and views. You can see that a few months ago, there was a very bearish view. Obviously, people were not sure. Indian elections were not done then. US elections were not done. But now, the view that recession is coming has actually fallen down considerably. So from all of you business perspectives, I just wanted to tell you that globally, this is one of the better times. Fewer and fewer people think that there's a recession. You can see the GDP projections, except for Europe, most of the world is moving northward. India is a fairly bright spot in all of this. We've generally had stable elections, and stable government now. In the central bank, which is RBI, we have a new RBI governor, which has impacted dollar-rupee partly. But first on growth, we have a government that I think for the last 10 years has been really spending money. So the government spending of money is very important. And in a country like India, I think we really need the infrastructure. So, this is, a slide that most of you, especially in the infra EPC space, would have known. There are so many projects, 10 years ago, who would have thought that India would be building its own trains? We always imported all our trains, no trains were made. So you're making your trains now. There's the metro project, there's the waterway, Sagarmala and Bharatmala project. We're building the Mumbai-Delhi corridor. So a lot of heavy-duty infra spend, which is actually great for the GDP. And what is good, the current government is also building on top of this a very good digital infra. We all know about UPI and what Aadhaar has done to that. I'll just take a side note to say that Axis Bank is the bank through which the maximum number of UPI transactions go through. So we're very proud of that fact. But, carrying on, you've got a government that has, built OCEAN, ONDC, FASTag. All of this is moving rupees digitally, right? And obviously, the more you put money digitally, the less leakages, and that's great for the economy. These are some of our numbers. At a broad level, the India GDP forecast, we are forecasting 6.7. The latest forecast came at about 6.4. Inflation is slightly high. Vegetable prices are inducing it. But inflation is not exactly where RBI wants it. So we don't really think RBI will cut. In the Fed also did not cut very recently. But what had happened in the last few months is little worrying. There are some niggling doubts that inflation niche nahi aa raha hai, and GDP is not growing as fast. The numbers are a bit slow. For example, our forecast was 6.7, and the recent numbers seem to predict we might land up at 6.4. So that means there might be a little pressure from RBI to maybe cut rates. We don't think ideally the rates should cut, because US rates are at 4.5%. And Indian rates today are at 6.5%. You need to have at least 2% interest rate differential, right? Otherwise, why would anyone put money into India? So I hope RBI doesn't cut, honestly. I know a lot of you would like to borrow money cheaper, but the fact is, if you don't have that differential, nobody will come into markets like India. But we feel that the government spend is very critical. We had 11 lakh crores budgeted by the government for infra spend and all the spends. They've only done 4 lakh in the first half because election and state elections. So that means in the next two quarters, and I think 2 mahine bache hain, they should be spending, in our estimate, 7 lakh crores compared to 4 lakh crores which they spent in the first quarter. So I think all of that money will trickle down into MSME and large companies. So hopefully we'll all get to see some positives out of that. Very quick slide on, this is a slide we call the dollar index. A lot of you will have questions on dollar rupee, what's happening. So before we come to dollar rupee, you have to talk about the dollar. The US dollar is an asset by itself. And you have to understand this, that before you look at dollar rupee or euro rupee or anything else, first aapko ye samajhna hai ki what is happening with the US dollar. So it is the US dollar versus every other asset class. Because if you're sitting on millions of dollars in another country and invested in, real estate or equity, whenever there's a crisis, what you will do is you will liquidate and you will sit liquid. And that liquidity is in dollars. So whenever there's a crisis, and you can see this, every time there's been a crisis, the dollar index moves up, right? Only funny thing is that if the crisis is in the US also, it's still the dollar that goes up because it's unfortunately the currency of the world. So these periods are what in market lingo we call as risk off or risk on mode. So for example, either you're on risk or you're off risk. So right now with Trump elections and all of that, the market was very jittery. So it effectively became risk off, and the dollar index shot from 102 to 108. And obviously all currencies get impacted. That's dollar rupee. Compared to other currencies, actually 2024 mein agar aap dekhenge, dollar rupee has been one of the best performing currencies, which means least volatility, which Dr. Shaktikanta Das, who was our RBI governor, really helped by holding rupee steady. It's cost us a lot of money. Our reserves are down about 100 billion. We have a new RBI governor now. The policies are still in place. We are still not going to let rupee run away. But what we've seen is, I think the new policies are slightly relaxed. So you will see a lot of vagaries on rupee. Rupee went to 86.70, came back to 86.20. Today it's about 86.60. Short and long view on dollar rupee. Ideally, most of the large participants feel that there's still some rupee weakness. But again, if you look at the Dolex, I was just telling you before Trump, when he won elections, it went from 102 to 110. Today, the Dolex is at about 107, 108. So I think as Trump starts issuing things which are not as bad, his bark is worse than his bite, people will relax and things will come back to normal. If most of you remember 4 years ago when Trump came in, same thing had happened. Rupee depreciated 7% and then appreciated some of it back. So I'm not saying we'll go back to 83, but I think if things all go well, then there will be a slide back and rupee might strengthen a bit. So this is just to summarize how we see the world. The first slide was through pictures, this is through words. One is we're definitely seeing a political right leaning. You've seen that across governments. People used to say India is maybe not so secular. The whole world is moving towards one side. It's anti-wokeism, it is, no climate change, drill baby drill. Everyone's just focused on business. And, I think from businessman perspective, that's not a bad thing. Self-reliance and deglobalization, fairly inflationary. Everyone wants to take off its dependencies on each other. The dollar index, as I told you, has weakened, has strengthened quite a bit. If things go well, that means people are back on risk-on mode. You will see that come off, which means rupee will appreciate, equities will come back, all of that. Euro, we think we've hit the bottom and we should kind of pick up from here. Inflation, if you're going to deglobalization, which is the opposite of globalization, then inflation has got to rise. Volatility is very, very high, and you will see that continue for some time. And yes, from an India perspective, we are fairly bullish, and dollar rupee, you expect two-way movement. So that's it from us. Thank you. If you need anything, we'll be around for further questions. Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you so much for taking us through that wonderful, crisp presentation. I'm sure after this, most of us will be able to understand markets pretty well. It's not easy to master this trait in a day, but I'm sure some bit of knowledge does help in going forward. So we know successful businesses cannot be built overnight. There's a lot of thought and learning that goes into it. Behind fine-tuning and perfecting every step that each of us need to take to move ahead. As Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam said, if you want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun. So today we bring to you some of our very own client, our growth partner, Mr. Sahesh Poddar, to share with us his thoughts on future-proofing MSMEs for the new age. Prashant T.S., President and Head Mid-Corporate Group and Medium Enterprise Group, Axis Bank, shall moderate the session along with Mr. Brajesh Shalil, EVP, Treasury Market Sales. We will also do a Q&A, so please keep your questions ready. We will take it up post the panel discussion. I would like to invite Mr. Sahesh Poddar on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, he's Promoter Director, Chandramukhi Impex. He's an alumni of St. Xavier's School, College, born and brought up in this city. He's a second-generation entrepreneur, currently on the board of directors of Chandramukhi Impex, Prabhu Polycolor Limited, as well as Prabhu Polypipes Limited. Sir, I request you to please take stage. Next, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Prashant T.S. to moderate the session. He heads the mid-corporate and MEG business at Axis Bank, leveraging over 25 years of experience spanning across retail and wholesale banking. He joined the bank in 2020 and has been instrumental in scaling the mid-corporate business and medium enterprise portfolio for the bank for the last 5 years. He's also been involved in several business transformation projects and driving execution of the same across wholesale banking group. So ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, we invite him to take stage. We'll also request Mr. Brajesh Shalil to please join them for the panel discussion. Thank you. Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Brajesh. Thanks, Harsh. Let me start off with you, sir. I think second generation entrepreneur. I see in most MSMEs, you know, when the second generation kind of comes in, the thought processes are different. The business was built differently during the first generation. So what do you see and what's your take on this, and what piece of advice would you leave, you know, to our customers, how to kind of handle this generation change, that happens in businesses?
The biggest change or the difference which we encounter as compared to the previous generation is they, of course, did not have access to the tools and the technology that we are having today at our disposal. We've been fortunate enough to witness a great number of technology changes, be it from the introduction of mobile phones, internet, artificial intelligence for that matter. So today when we take a decision, it's not just based on pure impulse, but also on a lot of number crunching, data crunching, through artificial intelligence, which we actually run the numbers and we try and figure out that what would be the best possible scenario, and then we take a call. So I believe that would, that's definitely a big difference, which we see.
Sure. Thanks, sir. So Brajesh, thanks for covering a detailed presentation. One of the things most of our clients kind of keep asking is that, to continue to hedge, is it a good practice? Some of the clients feel that leaving it unhedged is also a good practice. So what's your view as, being part of treasury sales of the bank?
I've spent about 27 years in this industry. And the only thing that I've learned is you know nothing. Okay? तो जब भी हम आपके ऑफिस में आते हैं और हम बताते हैं कि सर डॉलर रुपी ये लेवल जाएगा या इंटरेस्ट रेट्स यहाँ जाएंगे, किसी को कुछ नहीं पता. Okay? So at best we can look at all the data that we have और थोड़ा guesstimate लगा सकते हैं. Who would have thought COVID would have come?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think honestly I don't think anyone knows the level. And if you ask me, जैसे कोई कंपनी को हम कह रहे हैं कि आपको hedge करना है, do you have to hedge the whole dollar rupee या euro rupee or interest rates? I don't know.
Sure.
So if you don't know, it's like life. We take insurance. So I think आपको जो hedging जो product है, you have to look at it like insurance. अगर आपका 100 करोड़ का या 100 million का exposure है एक साल में, the suggestion is first of all आपको visibility होनी चाहिए कि your business is going to have 100 million exports. We have seen companies that have made projections, and sometimes the projections don't happen. So what do? So the solution is we follow what we call as the 30-30-30 principle. That take 30% of your book as core. कि whatever happens, 30% तो I will generally have. तो 30% आपको hedge करना चाहिए. 30% आपको hedge नहीं करना चाहिए. You should never hedge 100%. So keep 30% or 1/3 open, 1/3 fully hedged. The remaining 1/3 is what you can take a call, ask some experts, take your own views, read a bit, and then when at the right appropriate time, you should try and hedge. That's broadly what I suggest.
Yeah, thanks for that input. Sir, coming back to you, where do you see India's MSME, playing a role in global manufacturing? Today, most of the manufacturing, make in India and all of that, there's a lot of trust, and Indian MSMEs have started exporting to regulated markets. So that's a difficult space. So what's your view on that?
I mean, frankly, who would have thought that we've reached the stage where we've come right now? As Brijesh very correctly put in his presentation, who would have thought that we would start building our own trains, build our own aircraft carrier for that matter. And we've started with the satellites and everything. So I'm sure the MSME has a very big hand and a very big role in all of that. We've just about concluded the first decade of Make in India. And we're starting the first Make in India this decade, I think, attracted a total investment of, I think, about 167 billion. And now we're with the second phase commencing just this year. We're expecting much more than that. So definitely, I mean, we are, with the global, having said that, we feel that with the changing geopolitical situation, be it the Ukraine-Russia thing, our immediate neighbors, Bangladesh for that matter, what we are witnessing right now, China has always been dominant in kind of pushing their goods all over. So these kind of throw up a challenge. And with every challenge, I believe, there is an opportunity. So definitely, we do not know, as again, Brijesh put it, that we do not know what exactly Trump's going to do. He might be imposing sanctions. And what would be the long-term effect of that? Would it be adverse for us, or would it actually help us in the long run? That is something which we need to see, but we need to keep ourselves prepared, and we need to be totally ready for that. So I'm sure that in the long term, this is going to work out well for India, especially for the MSME sector.
But Prashant, just building on the same question, and just for all of you here, मुझे आके इस बैंक में 5 साल हुए हैं, and one of the first few people I met in the bank were Vijay Shetty and Prashant, and I know that the book size of Axis Bank, as our ED Mr. Munish Sarda was explaining, has gone up. What has your book size gone, Prashant, from?
2.2 lakh crores now.
So the book has gone 3 to 5 times. Now, how is that happening? That is happening because it is MSME India that is actually very boldly going out there and putting out capex plans. So I think what honestly, as Vijay said, the MSME is in some sense the backbone. And I'll tell you, I'm as a product partner, I sit through all the meetings. What I've generally seen is you've had the top maybe 3-4 conglomerates who are very aggressively were putting out capex the last 3-4 years. We've had most of the large part of corporate India actually not borrow. most of the large corporates were actually cleaning up their balance sheet, which is also great. So you have a time when all the large corporates, very, very clean and healthy. But the mid-corporate, the MSME have really doubled, tripled in the last 3-5 years. So I think the Make in India timing has been great. I think globally, the fact that I think it's very clear it's an anti-China stance, and that is going to be to India's gain and Bangladesh's gain and possibly Vietnam's gain.
Sure. So Saransh, coming back to you, Bridge, if you can also take this question once Saransh completes it. What's your expectation from the budget? For MSMEs, I think budget is one thing that you look at it, you look forward to it. So is there any specific expectations from the budget? Not that me and you decide anything, but still from an expectation perspective, what is that? And you covered about the China, this thing, if you could also touch upon the China plus one, model and how it's benefited India, that will kind of help understand.
Well, in simple terms, I would say more and more push for the infrastructure sector.
Sure.
Because the moment we start doing that, we already are. But a further push would result in more investments and more opportunities for the MSME sector, be it in different fields. One thing I would definitely want from the finance ministry is a simplification of the GST structure. I mean, currently we feel it's a bit little complicated, especially for the MSMEs. I mean, when you compare us to the large corporates, we do not have the kind of resources or the manpower or something to actually comply with the due diligence and to take care of all the compliances. So for us, in simple, as my father taught me, that we are focused on work. धंधे में लगना है, काम करना है,
absolutely.
उसी में वो चीज़ करो. इतना टाइम यहाँ पे किसी के पास है नहीं कि we get into the nitty-gritties that, okay, what needs to be done for the GST part, what are the little complications and how to overcome that and all. So definitely, for example, I could give you a small example right from our own industry. Like one of our verticals is the garment industry, where our current input rates in certain segments are higher than our actual output rates, which results in a huge GST surplus being deposited with the government, which we cannot claim a refund of. So for an MSME, that poses a great challenge, wherein your funds are getting blocked and you have no way out. So definitely I would want some clarity and a little bit of solution from that perspective.
Sure, thanks.
So I think the budget is a very favorite question. I think so many years in markets, personally, we've all been hoping that income tax would be cut, but I think the government is very mature in that sense, and they also realize that जब भी आप budget की तरफ बढ़ते हो, you have these 4-5 standard asks. इतने सालों से हम सुन रहे हैं, उनको पता है कि 2-3 दिन बाद, people will forget. So I think they've matured and they've moved on. So I think, as you correctly said, I think ease of doing business has been one of the big asks that have been tabled.
True.
So I hope definitely, the finance minister is listening and some of that comes through. I think the government spending, because without government spending, till the consumer spending doesn't pick up, the government has to step in. So I definitely think you will hear a lot on infra spend, hopefully. On tax, of course, for, the common man, they do try to every year adjust the barometer, which is great. I feel personally this time to drive the consumption, you might see a lot of retail solutioning coming out. And definitely with AI and technology and all of that talk, I think, you will hear Dr. Nirmala Sitharaman speak a bit about that. But otherwise, I think, they're very, very clear on fiscal prudence, Prashant. They don't want to, just appease and play to the galleries. They're very clear that they will stick to the prudent guidelines.
I think fiscal prudence is something that we've seen, in the last 2-3 years, and that would continue. So, sir, वापस आपके लिए, what are the top 2-3 opportunities you see in the industry for MSMEs? Specific to West Bengal or Calcutta as such, if you can just cover.
Well, as I previously said, with new challenges, it's the way of seeing it. I mean, you could either think of it as a challenge or you could see it as an opportunity. So I would personally prefer to see it as an opportunity. And definitely in the recent past, we've come across a great deal of opportunities. Speaking of personal experiences, Schemes like the Jal Jeevan Yojana, then Har Ghar Mein Gas, and those things. So that has opened up a window of opportunities for one of our manufacturing segments, wherein we are supplying the PVC pipes and the HDP pipes and gas pipelines and all. Now, going forward, we are also into plastics. So I would say that recycling and sustainability and all that is it's amongst the top agendas on everyone's mind, especially the youth today. So that opens a window of opportunities for us, wherein we feel that India is by far one of the largest consumer markets. And we feel that the recycling has not really gone to its potential.
Sure.
Now, when you try and organize a particular sector, that's automatically where the opportunities start coming in, and it opens a host of doors for the MSME sector. So definitely. And lastly, from the government's perspective, we've been recently, post-COVID, we've been witnessing this, that there is a very much anti-China sentiment prevalent. So a lot of people, global players and the manufacturers and the retailers, the brands, they've consistently been trying to shift their production out of China.
Yes.
Now that leaves a huge void, because obviously when you look at the scale at which China operates, we do not have that kind of scale over here.
Yes.
So we need the infrastructure, we need the push for that.
Yeah.
And if we are able to capitalize on it, I think the world's our market.
Yeah. True. Completely agree, sir.
So
I think
this China point, which actually I forgot to answer in the earlier round, is, I think it's a godsend, but, we do many of these talk sessions. In fact, a few months ago, we had someone from China. He's a fairly renowned scholar there. He's American, lives in China. But he was saying the world outside, and many of आप लोग काफी लोग businessmen हैं, you've gone to China, you've seen what it is. I think sometimes a bit of it is what you read in the media, but China is at a different scale, size and scale, right? So I think even if they lose 10-15% of the production, it's not really going to make a big difference to them, but it'll make a big difference to all the countries. And I think, it's an opportunity for MSME India to step in. And there are 5-6 sectors, Prashant, which, in the bank we've seen that are pretty hot. So as a bank, we keep reviewing sectors where we think, so manufacturing definitely, defense is something that, we were recently in Hyderabad, and there were so many MSMEs and mid-corporate who are making now defense parts, and the openness of the government, the willingness of the government. If you take Munitions India, which is, India's own munition yard, they broke it up into 7 companies. And if you meet them, even they are out exporting and giving the orders again to mid-corporate customers. So I think 5G is another big, phenomena that is going to come in. And once 5G comes in, the add-ons that it does, right? Because tomorrow you will be able to talk to and communicate to almost every device in your house. Now imagine every appliance going through some electronic upgrade will be opportunities again for everyone. So you've got 5G, you've got defense, EVs, we already know, I think 5 years ago, you would have looked absurd saying that you want an EV car, right? Today, every house has a second EV car. So I think these are the top 2-3 opportunities apart from pharma, chemicals, and second level manufacturing.
And it fuels the whole supply chain, Brijesh, EV you talk about, then batteries, the whole thing comes together, That's where the opportunity comes, Sir, thanks for joining us on this panel. And Brij, thank you. We want to open it up for questions, we'll pass the mic on. If any of you have anything to ask, please do. Ji.
Sir, artificial intelligence का क्या role होगा in the days to come, in the months or years to come, in deciding the future of stock market, commodity market, forex market? आपसे मैं पूछ रहा हूँ. और दूसरी बात सर, इन्होंने कहा जीएसटी को लेकर के, मैं वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट इंडस्ट्री में हूँ. वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट हम सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं कॉर्पोरेशंस को, म्यूनिसिपैलिटीज को, विच इज ए प्योर सर्विस. अब हम उन पे जीएसटी लगा नहीं सकते, लेकिन जितने भी हम मशीनरी खरीदते हैं, ये खरीदते हैं, सब पे जीएसटी है. तो बहुत इतना सरदर्द हो गया है. जीएसटी का सिंप्लीफिकेशन करना बहुत जरूरी है. इसको सारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे हमको रेज करना चाहिए. इनपुट करोड़ों रुपए इतने पड़े हुए, हम ले ही नहीं पा रहे इनपुट. वो सरप्लस पड़ा हुआ है हमारे पास। तो ये एमएसएमई को बहुत बड़ा धक्का दे रहा है। इसको सिंप्लीफाई करना चाहिए। आप लोग को भी बैंकिंग सेक्टर में ऐसा टॉप लेवल में इसको टेकअप करिए सर, ये बहुत सरदर्द हो गया है। और आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के बारे में सर बताएं।
जीएसटी के लिए जो इन्होंने कहा, आई थिंक एक कॉमन तार है जो सबके दिलों को कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पे छूता कि we are somehow not being able to exploit our true potential because of these nitty-gritties.
I think, like you said, it's a little complex. I think simplifying it is important. And I think he made a valid point that on the input, he has full GST, but on the output service that he's delivering, he's not able to charge GST. Yeah,
I think, sir, आपके basis में I will volunteer Vijay Shetty to take this up. Vijay, for the cause of MSME and GST, let's make a petition in some form. आपका जो सवाल था, पहला वाला सवाल जो AI पे था, अगर आप मार्केट्स देखिए, द लास्ट 5 years इतने लोग घर पे बैठे, कोविड में सारे यंगर जनरेशन को देखिए, सारे ट्रेडर बने हुए बैठे हैं, पर एक्चुअली जो ट्रेडिंग हो रहा है, इट्स हैपनिंग ऑल बाय मशीन्स already, okay? And quant, we call it quant, the quant techniques that are going, they have fine-tuned it at this level कि आपकी server जो है, how far is your server from the NSE server? There was a big scandal also about it, which you must have read out. So the point is, even वो milliseconds में आपको, so basically आपको लग रहा है stock यहाँ है, अगर आपका सर्वर इज मच फास्टर बिफोर द स्टॉक फॉल्स, यू नो इट हैज फॉलन, तो आपको जो करना है आपने कर लिया, फिर द रेस्ट ऑफ द ऑडियंस कम्स इन. सो आई थिंक टेक्नोलॉजी एंड एआई ऑलरेडी आ चुका है, तो हमको ऐसे लग रहा है कि हम मार्केट में खेल रहे हैं, बट वो जो शॉर्ट टर्म ट्रेडिंग है, इट इज रन बाय मशीन्स. कमिंग टू एआई, आई थिंक स्पेसिफिकली एआई, अगर आप देखिए, काफ़ी लोगों को डर भी लगा रहता है कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, हम काफ़ी मूवीज़ देखते हैं कि हमें लग रहा है कि AI will take over. I don't think that is true, because AI को तो हम ही ने बनाया, and it is just a tool that we can use, but it is a very powerful tool. अगर आप सबके फ़ोन पे पता नहीं चैट जीपीटी तो होगा, we have all heard of it, but it is how you use चैट जीपीटी. आप वो सवाल कैसे करते हो, how do you use it? It is a tool, वैक्यूम क्लीनर है, आप जैसे उसको यूज़ करोगे, you will benefit from it. And like that same thing on, I think the volumes that AI is generating through this is actually scary. So sometimes on equity markets, we have already seen it. The recent, SEBI team has also opined a lot on the options market, which is, a lot of it is also sometimes driven by this. Forex markets, little harder to control, because ऐसे नहीं कि एक country है, it is the whole world's currency, and central banks are there. So they will also play a big role. जैसे आप इंडिया में अगर आप देखिए, आपको इट इज़ डॉलर रुपी इज़ डेफिनेटली फ्रीइंग अप एज अ करेंसी, ये वो, पर आरबीआई बहुत कंट्रोल रखता है सर. अगर दिन में हमने ऐसे 400-500 मिलियन ऐसे खेल दिया, तो आरबीआई पूछेगा कि कौन खेल रहा है. सो आई थिंक दोज समटाइम्स रेगुलेशन इज गुड इन दिस मैटर. सो आई डोंट थिंक, I think if you heard again what I was saying, Dr. Our IT Union Minister has also said that we are going to come out with AI policies. अगर regulated ही नहीं हो, तो फिर there's no way to control it. So I wouldn't be too worried. I think it's an opportunity. We have to harness it properly. That's more important.
Actually, we were talking about India and China earlier.
Yes.
So what I want to state in this, that on the context of taxes also, if we have a comparison with them, then only we'll become a growth engine. How? I'll just tell you, I'm from a steel sector business. What we are finding out, importing steels from outside is much cheaper as compared to producing it in India currently. The main issue is that suppose the GST is 18%, and in China the taxes is 13%. How much I know is that 13% is the VAT over there.
Sure.
So there is a 5% gap for domestic sale. If these GST rates are also reduced from 18 to 13%, what will happen? We will have a domestic, we'll get a domestic boost also in that, which will, with that help, what will happen? The sales which are down currently for 3-4 months, it will get boosted up through the domestic sales actually. And this is the problem we are facing in India. Why we are paying the highest income tax also, and we are paying the highest GST also. Because government is saying when you are selling a product and you are charging 18% from the customer, but actually that is not the truth. The truth is that 18% is actually going from the seller's pocket only because he has to compromise his profit to sell his product right now. So I think so this session should go over there.
But I'll, if you can add something on this.
No, but as we understand, the GST is on the value addition.
Right.
It's
Right,
not
right,
on
right.
the entire sale price.
If GST comes to 13%, there will be a directly drop in the price by 5% for the entire market. Na?
So he's
Suppose
basically
steel
making
price
a
is
point.
45 right now, and if we add 18%, it becomes 54 something around. If it is 13%, then it comes to 50 rupees. Na?
Even on the value add, he's saying there's a 5%
Right,
difference, you know, that's kind of eating up into his profits.
Right. But just to add a little perspective, as Brajesh correctly said, that the finance ministry, the entire team, I think they're well equipped to handle this kind of a situation. I'm sure they're overseeing the markets, which is why in the recent times we've seen them take action against allowing the actually allowing the import of iron and steel and from other countries. And I'm sure with times to come, this thing is only going to get aggravated. They are going to impose more stricter measures so that they can protect the domestic industry. Because at the end of it, MSMEs and our own domestic industries are the backbone of our economy. If we do not protect them, then there is nothing left actually.
It is in some items which we don't produce, then MSC won't be working also because you need cheaper coils from outside.
No, so I'll
So you just importing import duties on the coil won't help you out. Then you won't be able to export also since your import costs are increasing.
No, so one thing is that, of course, every industry has its nuances, and I think at least the government is listening to many of these, but you made 2 points which I just want to kind of leave behind with you. So one is, yes, GST has been, we're hearing the trouble and the pain. नहीं, but मैं खाली बोल रहा हूँ कि आप अगर 2 मिनट उनके साइड से आप look at it slightly from the big picture, and I'm not for 1 minute saying sir जो pain है वो real नहीं है, वो तो सुनाई दे रहा है और hopefully the government will listen and make all these changes. But जो मकसद से वो ये करने हैं, आप वो समझिए 1 मिनट. So इंडिया में अगर आपको पैसा कैपिटल लाना है, so globally आपको इंडिया की रेटिंग बढ़ानी है. आज इतने फंड्स हैं जिनको पैसा डालना है इंडिया में, पर आपकी इंडिया की रेटिंग, यू आर कैप्ड एट इंडिया रेटिंग. तो टू गेट इंडिया रेटिंग अप, फर्स्ट थिंग यू नीड टू डू, वन ऑफ द थिंग्स इज शो फिस्कल प्रूडेंस. यानी एंड वी हैव सेड जैसे हमारी फिस्कल डेफिसिट विल नॉट गो अबव 4.5. इफ यू वांट टू मेंटेन इट एट 4.5, व्हाट डू यू नीड टू डू? आपको बेसिकली जो आपकी आमदनी है, वो गवर्नमेंट की जो आमदनी है वो बढ़ानी पड़ेगी. दैट्स व्हाट दे आर डूइंग. The spending that they are doing, जो उनकी borrowings है, they are trying to control that. So I think India has actually benefited. You must have heard of the bond indexation. It's a very big thing. Today, India has been accepted into the bond indexation. Just because of that, $25 billion have come into the country. And no choice. जो बड़े-बड़े funds हैं, जो are running $500 billion, they have been told India has been accepted into the bond indexation because of fiscal prudence. So I'm just saying sometimes the government sees the big picture. जैसे GST आप बोल रहे हो, it's definitely painful, but पहले आप देखिए एक truck, when it used to travel from one state to the other, at least I have friends in the logistics sector जो कहते थे 13 दिन truck idle खड़े रहती थी between the states. Today a lot of that has gone away. So sometimes the big picture is helping. But last part you said on China, I agree that somewhere the government has to also save the MSME, protect the MSME, right? And I think they're doing it. Prashant, we met someone in your in the solar panels. Remember, today the government rules are the one that is helping. Today, you can import from China cheaper, but they're saying no, nothing from China. So let's protect the industry.
No, but I think your point is valid in terms of a differential rate that's there. So I think government tries to. It's like too many balls in the air. So you have to juggle all of it.
My question is to Mr. Brajesh. I was going through your slides, but there was one particular reference which said that manufacturing was weaker than proxies. What exactly were you trying to communicate? I couldn't get that.
No. So actually, the last 2 years, as I was telling you, the Atmanirbhar, Make in India, story for manufacturing has been very positive. India has always been the last 5-7 years galloping on the service sector, which we are doing very well. but manufacturing was beginning to pick up. That slide, what I was trying to show you was last 2-3 quarters, sir, हमको थोड़ा डर लग रहा था कि manufacturing dip हो रहा है. And we are worried because, you know, MSME is so important and manufacturing is so important. India has to pick that up. Thankfully, we think it was because there was less spending by the government, which is what I was trying to communicate. So from compared to all the other proxies, we think that it will pick up.
I'll just add to that. On a lighter note, I think you can blame the stock market for that, for the dip in the manufacturing sector. Because as you correctly said, the youth, I mean, people feel that what's the point of actually investing so much time and effort into a business rather
the market is willing to give you
the
the
market's
return.
giving a great booming returns. So just sit in front of the computer and get all the returns you want.
I think the last 1 month has taught that, you know, manufacturing is better. So, you know. Anything else?
My question is on this same that China issues.
Yeah.
Like we are seeing in this opportunity of like the Western countries shifting base to India. We are opting for manufacturing. But see, we also face a challenge. Like when comparing to China's production, when a product is made, you see there are a lot of ancillaries around that main manufacturing which supports that main product. So when this same thing we want to start in India, we face a lot of challenges. Like we have to start from everything. Everything we have to manufacture, then only we can make that product. And in that sense, we are losing on the pricing part. Like we are being more. So this is also a challenge. Like, so how to mitigate that if somebody has can throw some light?
So of course, volume-wise, they are way bigger. You know, if we are talking about any number, they are 10, 15 times the size of what we are speaking in terms of manufacturing. And of course, you told about the ecosystem that they have in and around a main manufacturer, the entire supply chain being in and around them. But one thing I want to kind of leave a thought with you is, you know, why is India being a preferred option? The amount of pollution that happened because of the manufacturing that China did, or, you know, their trade ties with US, all this kind of, you know, got affected, and that's why India is being looked at as a preferred option. So while today we may not be competitive, but to get the price that you want, I think we are the next best option available to West.
Yeah, to grab that opportunity, we have to make a bridging, like somewhere we have to make a compromise.
See, I think if you look at the last couple of decades, we were known for services. We were known for BPO, we were known for software.
Yeah.
But if you look at the last 5-7 years or so, there is thrust on manufacturing, and you started picking, at least people have started talking about it. Make in India was never thought about it. You know, this is a thrust that we probably should use, and maybe we'll get there. It will take some time, but it's a start.
But things like your PLI scheme and all of that, what the government is doing, they're moving in the right direction. But देखिए, finally, this is the forum and this is the lobby that is very powerful. And hopefully, you know, through the right, you know, suggestions that we can make to the government, all of this will happen. But as Prashant said, I think, you know, Make in India is here to stay now. And, you know, hopefully some of these schemes will hopefully help MSME.
Plus, talking from a personal experience, I would say that definitely when you're in the overseas market, when you're there on the global platform, people know that there is a difference in the price between what China commands and what we are asking for. And they're not fools over there. They do understand that there is a certain premium which we are commanding. It's not necessary that it's our, the entire premium which we are commanding is our profit.
Yeah.
They very well know that since we are at a comparative disadvantage, our costs are a bit on the higher side because we do not have the volumes or the economies to justify that. But they are willing to give us that premium because they can be rest assured as regards the quality of the product which we are offering them. And by doing so, we are actually being able to scale up our volumes by which we can actually bring down the costs, which is very much evident if you see in any sector for that matter. I mean, maybe what, 4 years, 5 years back, the cost of an EV, what it was then and what it is being offered now. It's remarkable.
Sure.
We, in the defense, we started manufacturing our own assault rifles, which we were previously importing.
Importing,
So, definitely, I mean, with all these things, there is a change coming. They say that परिवर्तन आएगा, जरूर आएगा, but वक्त लगेगी.
Ji. You know, I will probably give you another input. You know, I think we are holding back people. I'll cover a little bit about ESG. I'll probably talk to you in person. And I think why India is doing better than China on the ESG focus. And all the Western companies, today ESG is a very, very critical part of their supply chain. You know, we can probably talk, you know, offline on this. Shweta, over to you.
Thank you so much for that thought-provoking session. I think all the panelists really articulated very well. And I'm sure you have more questions to go, but we will just take it offline. So at this juncture, I'd like to request Mr. Munish Sharda to please come on stage and present a memento to Mr. Sahej Poddar. Vijay sir, we request you to please come on stage for a group picture. So in a bank that's Dil Se Open, we are always there for you, wishing everyone a year full of abundance and prosperity. We prosper when you prosper. So let's prosper together. Axis Bank, Dil Se Open. On this note, we invite all of you to please continue the discussions and deliberations and join us for dinner. Ektu Mishti Mukh hoye jaak. Thank you so much for investing your time in us. Thank you.